Today we're going to build the Brocken Gigant Black Special SFM chassis. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the Brocken Gigant Black Special Super FM chassis. We're going to be building it. So I'm going to also be talking about a lot of different things, a lot of different topics throughout this building video. So yeah, this is not just building, this is about everything. So you'll get to hear about my philosophies on various things. And so yeah, if you don't like it, I guess you can skip forward past certain things. But yeah, there's going to be lots of tidbits of information, so you'll probably want to hear everything. So here we have a Brocken Gigant, the new variant. This is the FMA chassis. And we're going to be using the motor in this one, at least temporarily for this, because these old kits don't come with motors. That's right. So the old kits did not come with motors. You had to supply your own motors in them. And so, yeah, for box stock, this is probably not the way to go. But if you just want to test your chassis, your built chassis, and see how well it goes, you can always use a motor from an existing chassis, like something easy to remove, like this one right here. This is an FMA chassis. You can simply take off this back plate and you can get access to the motor very, very easily. Yes. So we're going to be using the motor from this one. And yeah, as soon as we break in a new motor, we'll substitute the one that we're using from here in our Brocken Gigant. Or we may just simply move it up to Tune class or BMAX class, like fairly soon. So I just want you guys to kind of get to see like what's involved in the building of a Super SFM chassis car. Now, some other things that are cool that I have to show and tell is these two compartments right here that go inside my 20 car Chewy Racing case that I purchased from Chewy Racing. So this is the standard box that comes with just a single compartment. I had asked Chris to build me a multi-compartment box, and this multi-compartment box is really cool because it's got 4 compartments in it, as you see here. It's got the long compartment for your longer tools, and it's also got these smaller compartments that you can fit smaller tools and items in, such as, for example, this tape. Or you can have those little boxes that I like so much. These are I think they're the gum boxes, the dental picks, and you can store things inside these little boxes, like as you see here, like various parts. And you can just basically stack them inside there like so. And you have mass dampers in another one. Yeah, so it's very useful to have these separate compartments right here. I know that a lot of you probably miss like using pit boxes for that very reason, because you've got those little compartments. Like here, this is what I'm talking about right here, these little compartments, and you can fit different items inside each of the compartments. Here I've just got like different screws in here. So I've got black screws, the silver ones. I think these are the short ones. No, these are the short ones, and these are the longer ones, and these are the longest ones. And then I have various spare parts there. And in this larger compartment, I have the long tools. Well, basically all the tools, and I just placed them in this box. But as you see here, this kind of got like ruined. It kind of smoked up because the chemicals from super glue, like one of my super glue tubes leaked, and unfortunately it created this fog inside here. And I think there's a way to actually get rid of this fog, so I'll have to investigate on how to do that. It shouldn't be that hard. I guess you can use chemicals to combat chemicals. So yeah. So another thing is here I have my G-force ready for this whole thing, so we're going to be breaking in a new motor, and I'll show you how to do that. And yeah, this video's got a lot of information. And yeah, I even repaired my, look at this, I repaired my Kindle Oasis. This is something that hasn't seen the light of day since 2019. So I purchased this long ago, back when the Kindle Oasis was like the big thing to get. And yeah, my battery just swelled up one day, and I was wondering, like the back of it just like popped open, and I looked inside, I peeled this off, and the battery was like big and fat. And so yeah, when that happens, you have to replace the battery. So I was looking online to see if I could replace the battery for relatively cheap, and one company wanted $43 plus shipping for such a battery, tax and shipping. And Amazon, I found a battery for under $20. So I did that and I replaced the battery. And I'm charging it up now and it seems to be charging up fairly well. So yeah, that's some of the things that you could do for a lot of money. You can do for even cheaper if you get these things through Amazon. So let's take a look at what's inside this Brocken Gigant Black Special. You have already seen the video on what's inside the Brocken Gigant Black Special, and I'm going to just do a little quick review right here. You get these squishy tires, you get this SFM chassis. A lot of people still love racing with an SFM chassis, and a lot of people just basically think that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and so now we have it, and that's pretty cool. And here we have a smoke black cowl. So it's translucent black, as you see here. And let's take it out of the package so you can see what's inside. And there's also something else here, too, inside the package. So let's take a look at all of that. So yes. Very, very cool. Translucent black. The Black Special. And we have here something that's also tinted black, but it's not black. As you see here, it is tinted a dark color. And I would almost say that it's like kind of brownish, but it's not. It's like a lighter smoke black. And as you see here, these are the contrasting parts for this, this cowl right here to go on this black chassis. Very, very cool. So there's a 3-color contrast thing going on here. There's the darkest color, the medium color, and the lighter color. Very, very cool. And the wheels here are bright red, as you see here. And you've got black tires, as you see here. This is black to match the color of this SFM chassis. There's a bunch of parts, including the wonderful, yes, O-ring, rubber O-ring rollers on here for the front. And the rear ones, I think the rear ones are just kind of plain. Let's see, they're in here. So they're here. Sorry about that. Yes, so there are these clear plastic or translucent, lighter black plastic rollers for the rear. So yeah, this is probably not going to be a very fast car by today's standards, but we're going to build it, and you know what? In its day, it was probably a pretty quick car. So compared to all the cars that came out around the time of this chassis, this is probably a very fast car back in those days. So yeah, let's take a look here. I think we already mentioned that you get these like bonus bonus charts and instruction sheets here for additional information, because we can never have too much Mini 4-wheel drive information, right? So yeah, always good that we get this the funny paper here with all of the cartoons on it. Yeah, this poor kid, I think this, yeah, the older brother is kind of like doing something to the younger brother here. That's sibling rivalry. Why don't they ever have girls on here, right? It's always boys. Why are boys like always playing with cars? Why can't girls play with cars? Oh, there's a mother right there. Yeah, and she's helping. She's trying to prevent these two from fighting. I think that's what's going on in this particular picture. So here are the instructions here, the Brocken Gigant Black Special. And the instructions are in Japanese, but you can probably surmise that these are the things that you need in addition to this kit. You have here, you need a motor, you need these side cutters, you need some sort of screwdriver, you need a cutting knife, and batteries. And if you take a look at the instruction sheet, it's a fold-out instruction sheet with some grayscale on it. Yeah, so Very, very cool. There's a lot of cool stickers on this one. So I'm not sure if I'm going to apply all the stickers. I'm going to try to kind of mimic what I did with this one right here. So this one right here, if you take a look at this, I put some of the stickers on, and over time, some of the stickers just kind of peeled off on their own. So if oil gets on the cowl, then the stickers, these old style stickers, will just kind of peel off. They're almost like wax paper, almost. So they just easily peel off on here. And yeah, it's easy to get oil in the cowl, especially when you're trying to tax the speed of an SFM or CFM car. You're going to oil things very, very liberally, I'll say. And that's how you coax as much speed as you can out of these classic vintage chassis. So here, like, if I want to win, I'm going to lubricate the motor. I'm going to lubricate everything, all of these parts here, like the ball bearings and these rollers here. I want to make sure that everything's smooth. I want to make sure that everything spins freely. You hear that, right? That's like the infinite sound right there. Yeah, it's not that infinite, but it's like it spins for a long, long time before it gives up. And so you want this kind of like nice, I'll call it infinite spinning effect. And yeah, you want to basically kind of match up what I have here if you want to build a nice B-Max car. But the rear, I'm going to try to change it a bit and see what I can do to make this part more aligned. So yeah, I think I could actually bring it out a smidge more, and this whole thing will then, I can then have this in line with the bottom roller right here. So yeah, I made this super extra heavy so that it can deal with jumps much more easily, but your mileage may vary. You may decide not to do that. I put a lot of side weight on here, and this seems to have done fairly well on like those, well, I'll call them camelback jumps, like two jumps like in succession. It seems to do well with those. You can either traverse those kinds of jumps by leaping from the first one past the second one, or you can try to traverse both jumps. And this one did, like, it won a race by just traversing the jumps. Like, it was just going, riding along the camelback basically, instead of doing a leap and then landing. So yeah, this was a very formidable car not long ago, so it was pretty cool. So let's take a look at the stickers too. Oh, yes, a friend of mine, an anonymous friend, sent me this Mini 4-wheel drive light emitting diode set, and as you see from this is the green version of the LED set. Very, very cool. So we're going to put this into the Variatron at some point soon. So yeah, instead of having, oh wait, is this the red light? Maybe it is. No, I think it's the green light. Yeah. So I think, yeah, I had the red light. Or is it the green light? I had one of those lights and I wanted to change the color of it. So now I have the color that I think will match the Variatron better. So yeah, we're going to try that in a future video. So here also is the sticker sheet, and this sticker sheet reminds me a lot of this one here, the sticker sheet from here, right? So it's got paper stickers versus foil stickers. So the foil stickers actually basically stay on a cowl a little bit better than these paper stickers. These paper stickers, look what happens. You can get things that peel like this. And then you can see that it's kind of like a wax paper underneath. And unfortunately, these stickers are not as like good as the foil stickers. The foil stickers are supreme. They're like awesome, totally awesome. So you'll find the foil stickers usually in like premium special type cars, like the Korean mock frame, I believe, has those foil stickers, and I think most every mock frame has foil stickers, I think. So yeah, it's just these older style kits, these classic vintage kits that will include like paper stickers instead of paper printed stickers instead of foil printed stickers. But that's okay. That's okay. Classic kit. We're going to build it according to the old ways, and we're going to try to coax as much speed as possible out of this. So I already purchased a whole bunch of upgrade parts for this, and we're going to be upgrading this over time so you can see for yourself what I'm going to do in building up this kit to make it race-worthy. So by today's standards, this kit might not be race-worthy, but it will be cool. So yeah, any Brocken Gigant from the olden days is a cool kit. Now, let me rewind and just say that I'm going to be speaking a lot about a lot of different things throughout this video. And as I said once before, and it's unfiltered too. So if you feel that you don't want to hear any of this stuff, just fast forward and then you can hear other things, right? So you might not want to hear about the politics of such and such, and don't worry, I don't go into politics, but you might not want to hear about certain things, and you can just fast forward. That's the wonderful thing about this. So I'm basically almost like recording this live, so you'll hear all of the mistakes I make too when I speak. So I'm not the best speaker, as weird as this sounds, but you can kind of tell from time to time that like some of my videos are edited so that it removes, like I remove all of the blank space. So it seems like I'm continuously talking, but I don't really continuously talk. I talk more like in like fragments of thought at a time, and that's just the way I am. It's just basically it's years and years of dealing with attention deficit disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder and various things like that, like autism. Like these are things that girls shouldn't have to deal with. Well, boys shouldn't have to deal with either, but like I had to deal with them growing up, and so people would just think that I was weird. So just because I talked a little different, I acted a little different, right? Behaving different is not always a good thing when you're in social situations. So I was always thought of as like a nerd or a geek or something like that to myself. Some people even thought I was stuck up because I was like quiet, and to myself I was reserved, but I really wasn't. I really like talking to people. It's just like I have to find that one person in the room that I can talk to for like the rest of the party or for an hour or something like that. Like, so that's me. Like I can talk to this like one person in the room that is just like me. And it's not to say that I can't talk to anyone else, right? So many of you know that I can engage in conversations and speak to you for like hours. And if you really want to talk to me for hours, I will. But like I can't really hop from conversation to conversation as easily as other people. And so a lot of people don't understand that, and I don't mean anything by it. Like I really, sometimes when I'm talking to one person and just focusing on that one person, it might seem like I'm ignoring you or someone else, but I don't really mean to. So I'm very sorry about that. I apologize for that. It's just the way I'm wired. Like once I start talking to somebody, then I just keep talking to that one person. And I think you can kind of get a sense of the truth of this by watching all of my videos. When I create a video, it's like I'm talking to you, right? It's like I'm talking to the one single person in the room, you. So you tune in to my videos and you hear stuff that it seems like it's basically pertaining basically to you, just to you, and nobody else. And so that's how I engage with the one person in the room that I generally talk to, or the two people in the room that I generally talk to. Like I try to focus entirely on that one person. Like you are the most important person in the world. So when you're watching my videos, you are the most important person in the world. So yes, that's how we're going to proceed here. So everyone, all of you watching, you are the most important person in the room. So let's take a look at this right here and see what we can see about it. We see here the first section has markings, so it's all about applying the stickers, and this is where each of the stickers should go. And here also another part where this is where all the stickers should go. And if you've been following these Tamiya things, right, like what's going on right here, this XF19, I think it is. And oh yeah, by the way, I wear glasses, so my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be because I'm like old, and so I need glasses. So I've just put my glasses on so I can actually read this tiny lettering right here. It's like I used to be able to see very, very small letters without glasses, and that was so cool. But now that I'm older, I can't do that anymore for whatever reason. But anyway, these things right here, like TS14, X1, TS14. What is TS14? It is the color black, so it's a paint that you can get from Tamiya, the X1 TS14, and you can basically paint those parts that they would like you to paint. So the painting is optional. All painting is optional, and if you prefer to use spray paints, you can. So the beauty of these model kits is the fact that like you can do whatever you want with them. You don't have to maintain this same color right here. If you don't like this color, you can paint it red if you want. So in the past, I've done that, very much so, with the Mock Frame Black Special. It came with a cowl that was just like this. It was translucent black. And I decided, hey, I'm going to paint parts of it red. And you know what happened? It was like the coolest thing because it had this like kind of like a translucent red, like a dark red tone when I would spray bright red paint on one of these translucent black cowls. It was really, really cool looking. So don't be afraid to experiment with your parts, with your plastic kit parts, because that's what it's all about. It's about experimenting. Like, at least that's one of the things that Mini 4-wheel drive should be about. It should be about experimenting. And if you're not willing to experiment, if you just want to follow the instructions, you can. But if you want to use your creativity to make your car yours, nobody else's but yours, then you'll want to express this creativity by doing things such as painting or maybe applying the decals in a certain unique way. Like, you don't have to make your car look exactly like this. Like what you see on this box right here, let's just take a look at the box again. What you see on the box cover is just an example. It's not the gospel, okay? So it's not the law. This is not how everyone's car should look like. I mean, this is like, it gives you an idea of like what it could look like if you put all the stickers on here like this and you painted everything the way that they tell you to paint things, but you don't have to follow this, right? So take a look at this. This is gold right here. These parts here, this is gold, but on the actual cowl itself, it's not gold, it's translucent black, just like the rest of the cowl. And there's also some parts, oh here, these parts here, this is really this, right? So you could paint them gold if you wanted to, or you can leave them this color. Or you can leave them off of the kit. You don't have to attach them on there. As you see, I don't have them attached onto here, onto this B-Max style car right here. So I made this into a B-Max car because for tune class, this is a little slow and I wouldn't trust it for tune class. But for B-Max, putting in whatever engine you want, yeah, go for broke. You can just like create a heavy tank and put the fastest engine in here and you'll run really fast with this and it will likely stay on the track. I'm not going to say that it'll stay on the track forever, right? No matter what you do. It's just that with the heaviness of how you build this, the way that the SFM chassis is designed, it seems to want to stay and hug on the track. And you can put like a really fast motor in there and it'll still stay on the track. And that's really, really cool. I've seen a lot of people also use, instead of carbon parts, they use FRP parts for their front stays and their rear stays and things like that. So at first, I wasn't too keen on using FRP parts. I was very, very much against them because I had used them in various cars and they would break easily. But I was using them in like open class cars. And if you want your cars to be lighter in weight, then you use FRP. And if you want things to be a little more flexible, then you use FRP. But if you want them to last, like for example, if a car crashes, it's likely that these stays are going to just break, and that's not good. So that's why we use carbons, because carbons, you have a smaller chance of having the stays break or bend or being damaged in some way. So yeah, That's what I have to say about FRPs versus carbons. So here, if you take a look at the rest of this, is your car going to look exactly like this if you applied all the stickers and put the paint on and stuff? No, this is an artist's depiction of what the Brocken Gigant Black Special is supposed to look like. And it is, if you take a look at what's going on here, there's a little cartoon, the anime series, where it actually has this guy racing this car. And so I think this is the cartoonified version of this car kit that we are going to build today. So yeah, on the sides of the box, you'll see that here we're talking about 5:1 versus 4:1 gear ratios here. So you get these two 5:1 and 4:1 gear colors, as well as their supporting gears. We have here the same thing as what we see on top. We have here what motors you can put inside this car. So if you're just using the basic parts that come with the kit, then these super fast motors that are here in this, like this, what is it, Hyper Dash right here, it's probably not going to be a good idea to put a Hyper Dash motor in a basic standard box stock style kit. So yeah, that's just an example of like, there's the motors that are available, and RevTune used to look like that, I believe. Yeah, the purple. So that's kind of cool. So I don't know which one of the Brocken Gigants this is supposed to be, but it's definitely not the one that's in this box, because the one that's in this box has red wheels, not blue, and we've got like black parts, or translucent black parts, instead of this gray and the white thing going on. And we have blue rollers instead of green. So I don't know what car this is, but it's not this right here. So anyway, so let's take a look at what's in here again, and we see all the parts, and we're going to just take this out, and we'll just put all the parts in this box, ready to be used when we need them. So here, aha, you have a white pinion. Okay, so what that's kind of telling you is you should use that white pinion for your motors. Now, if you were to build this as a strict box stock car kit, then you must use this white pinion for your motor. If you are going to build this as a Tune Class B-Max or some higher order car like that, then you do not have to use that white pinion. When I used that white pinion in the past, some people may beg to differ on what I'm going to say now, but that was the bane of my existence, this white pinion, because one of my cars, the very first Tune Class car that I ever owned and raced, it was the W10 Boomerang, and I had this on its motor, and for some odd reason it was like not very fast, and I've discovered that the pinion had cracked. There was a hairline fracture on it, a hairline crack. So that was very frustrating to not know that in the beginning. And so there would be a great loss of speed. The car would move at like 6 kilometers per hour because of that loss of speed, because basically the spindle, the metal spindle that was inside this pinion, it was like freely moving about inside the pinion. So this wasn't secure on the pinion because of that, because of the crack. So when I looked at this under a microscope, I saw the crack, and you could basically like separate the pinion. That's how bad it was. Like the entire thing was cracked from one end to the other end, and yeah, it just cracked. I think the car was going so fast with an atomic tune motor at the time that, yeah, the torque of the motor just blew this pinion apart. So when I replaced the pinion, it was fast again, of course. And so I would suggest that if you're using this car for something that's greater than box stock, that you replace this with a black pinion if possible, a carbon pinion if possible. Those are also black. And if you have purple ones, avoid those. Those are kind of like soft. You don't want to use purple. Use the black ones instead. So yes, very, very cool. So let's see what we need. Parts that we need to build our car. We always need a pair of side cutters. Yes, now I had recently purchased this because my old ones got kind of messed up in that glue, the glue incident, the super glue incident in my pit box holder. So yeah, so I basically, as you see here, the glue got on here and it kind of ruined the spring thing on here. And this whole thing here, the chemicals got to it. And so this feels kind of wonky. So it doesn't even spring open anymore. It just stays like that. Whereas a new pair of Tamiya side cutters, as you see here, it's open. And I can do this. Whereas with this, it doesn't open anymore. And the glue somehow got to it and ruined the spring mechanism, and it ruined the coating, the outer coating on here, so it's not fun to use anymore. So yeah, if anybody wants a pair of side cutters as a spare pair, I've got it right here. So you can have it. But yeah, this is what I'm going to use to cut off the parts from these parts trees right here. So how to remove these things from the trees. So what I like to do is I like to find the angle of attack, I call it. So the angle of attack is like you want to try to get the flattest part here on these side cutters against the flattest part on here. And then when you get really, really close, you have two options. You can clip real fast or you can slowly clip. So I generally like to slowly clip. So I use my finger as, here, my thumb right here, as kind of like a base, a leverage, so to speak, and I press against it, and then I hold down on the side cutters like so. So now this end here is completely flat against this part here, and I'm trying to remove this little tree thing right here. So here we go. Slow, there. And when you hear a click, that means that the thing just cracked off. So here you have a couple of options. You can keep slicing through like this to remove more and more of the burr, or you can use sanding sponges to sand this down. But if you do that, then you have to keep using, like, you have to start off with a relatively rough sponge at first to kind of like sand down that little white piece right there. And then once you do that with your sanding sponge, it's going to like make this whole surface feel kind of rough. So you have to use higher grades of sanding sponge to smooth it out until you use something that's a very fine grade that is almost like a polish sponge rather than a sanding sponge. So initially you might use a 400 to sand this down, to get this to be like relatively on the same plane as the rest of this. And then you might move to an 800 and you sand it down. Then you might move to a 1000, you sand it down. And then you might move to a 2000, you sand it down. At this point you're polishing. So 4000, you polish it down. 8000, which is usually the highest on these sanding sponge sets. And when you use the 8000, you shouldn't even see this little white spot here anymore. It should be completely gone, and the rest should look just as shiny as this plastic right here that you started with. So right here, you can see the reflection of it, of this. When you use the 8000's polishing sponge, it should be that shiny. So we're going to create some relatively rough cuts, and maybe we'll be able to like remove some burrs like that. If you had a God hand, you might fare a little better with removing those little burrs. So if you have God hand side cutters, which are like $70 for a pair, $60 to $70, then you might fare better with that. But beware of fake God hands out there. So a lot of people, they believe they've purchased a God hand and it's really a fake, unfortunately. And so yeah, there are some people out there trying to steal money by selling fake God hands. But anyway, we continue on here. We're trying to find the flattest part here, and So the flattest part is basically just right up against here like this, and then we just cut, and there it is, it snapped off again. And so here we have this white part that we need to sand down if we want to get rid of it totally. If you keep angling and cutting, then you might slice off more and more of the burr, but you might not. You might accidentally cut other parts of this. So here there were only two parts of this, two pieces that held it onto the tree. And if you don't really care about that, right, if you want to just build the car for racing purposes, then you probably don't really care too much about these little white nicks right here from the trees. But if you do care, then use sanding sponges. So there are some instances where you might care, right? If you care about presenting your car to, what is it, there's like this contest where people from all over the world design and paint their cars to make them look different, and then they take pictures of them and they send them to Tamiya, and you can win a prize for having the prettiest car. So you can do that, or you can just do nothing and just race the car. And so we're going to build this so that we're basically focusing on racing rather than presenting to some art gallery. So here we have this part here, and if you take a look at what's going on with my Brocken Gigant here, I don't even use that front part. But we're going to do this anyway because we're just curious. We just want to have this for completeness, right? So it's always good to have things for completeness. So I'm going to lay this flat. I'm going to use my thumb for leverage. See, I've got my fingernail right against here, pressing hard against this, and I'm pressing hard with my side cutters to flatten this as much as I can onto the flattest part of this piece, and I slowly clip, and it comes off. I do that again on this side, and it comes off. And I do this one more time here, flattest part, and here. So if I'm feeling this, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not perfect, right? But it's pretty good. And if I wanted to really get anal about it, then I will keep shaving off these little white burrs right here. So I think we are done with this part. So we can throw this out, right? So, oh wait, no, there's these two parts here. Good thing we didn't throw this out because there are these two little parts right here. So these can act as like extra weight too. So you want to keep extra parts like this for box stock, just in case you need extra weight for your cowl. So always good thing to have. But in some races, if these parts fly off, then you will get DQ'd. DQ means you will get disqualified. That's what DQ means. So depending on the racing event, if you end your race with a different amount of parts than what you started with, then you are DQ'd. And so you can't, in other words, you've lost your right or ability to win. So even if your car ends up being first, if you don't have a complete car, somebody might complain about it, and then you will be DQ'd. And it all depends on the event organizer and what he or she feels is just. So in general, in my races, if you lose a part or two, like if you lost this, I don't care. If you lose these parts here, I don't care. But in some events, if you lose those parts, you will be DQ'd. So I just want to make sure that when you cross the finish line, it's basically your car that crossed the finish line. Now, if you lose a wheel, that's a different story. If you lose a wheel tire, then you are DQ'd in my event, and you're DQ'd in most people's events. So yeah, we're not going to let that slide. Although there are some events where you can still win, even if you don't have a wheel on your car. But that's not my race. I think when I first started hosting events, I did allow that. But then I thought about it, and it was like, well, wait, what about all the people who fairly kept all of their parts on their cars? If you have less parts in your car towards the very end, then the car is lighter, and a lighter car can go faster and win, and so that's an unfair advantage. So yeah, that's how you have to kind of think about it. So okay, so we've cut out all of these black parts here. Oh, and there's a part here that's jutting out. It wasn't part of the cutting process, but it looks like it's just a mistake in the manufacturing process. It's a little burr that's right there. I'm going to cut it off using the side cutters. So there we go. And now it's smooth also. Very, very cool. So next up, we are going to cut the wheels. Yes. And so I'm going to, there's no way to get this completely flat on here. So you have to kind of think in a perpendicular way how to cut this. And this is like a softer plastic than the other plastic parts. So that's how you have to kind of think about it. And it's almost like clipping rubber. Yeah, so just make sure that you don't have burrs that are too bad on here. So it's not like we're going to keep these wheels on here forever. As you see, I replaced the original, I think they were red or yellow there. I think they were yellow. Yellow wheels like this one with these carbon fin spoke wheels. So yeah, you can do that if you want. You can change your tire and wheel combos to whatever you want. So yeah, be creative about it and have fun with your color combinations. Don't try to make it look like your friends, right? I mean, you could if you want, if you're inspired by what your friend does. But in general, you want to make the car yours. So you want to try to personalize your vehicle as much as you can. So every car should really look different. If everybody's car looked exactly the same, the world would be a boring place. The same goes for anything in life, right? People in general, too. If we saw a whole bunch of people in the world who looked exactly the same, right? Let's say we walked into a neighborhood and we saw 100 people and they looked exactly the same. That would be so boring. How would you be able to delineate who is who from whom, right? So it's like this, like we become friends with people, certain people, because of certain things that we know about them. And if everybody were just the same person, it would be a boring world. We would not be able to, we would have interchangeable friends then, right? If we couldn't distinguish between one person and another person. So that's what's cool about the world. We've got all these different people in the world. They have all these different philosophies. They know all these different things. And yeah, I think life would be very, very boring if everyone we met had the same hobbies as us. So we try to seek out people to be friends with who share the same interests. That's true, but they might also have other hobbies too that are interesting. And if we are interested in those things, then we can learn those things from those friends. So that's a big thing about, that's one of the big reasons, I think, why having all different kinds of friends is a cool thing. So here, when I cut these burrs off of these tires, I don't like cutting them like this. I like cutting them like this. So I want to get as flat as possible along this wheel, and then I slice just like that. It's like I lift up. So here we go again. Now, this, you might wonder about this line right here. That was already on there. Just like here, there's a line right there. You can see it when I move it in the light. So here I'm going to place this on the side like I did before, and I'm going to clip and lift. Yep, and it comes right off, and there's no burr. So we can dump this part here. You can save all these parts if you'd like, these scrap parts. Maybe they're useful in some way for you, like all of you have seen the kinds of things I've done with scrap parts. You can make things out of them and make illegal things out of them. No, they're only illegal if the event organizer says they're illegal. So some event organizers follow rules to the T, and so they say, oh, your car must look something like what you see in the box on the box of the car. But others they allow for creativity. So when the instructions say, when the rule events say, you must use everything inside the box, it means, well, this cardboard box here is fair game. And so you can do things with this cardboard, like maybe I could attach part of this cardboard thing to the car itself for added weight. So some events might allow for that, but it's like that would be a stretch of the rules, and you'd have to ask your event. You should really ask your event organizer if that's allowed, because in many cases it's not, because that would be seen as an unfair advantage. And really it's about this. It's about if somebody has additional engineering knowledge and they could utilize that knowledge, then it's an unfair advantage, right? So everybody has to be the same like level of Mini 4-wheel drive racer to be able to compete fairly, so that we're all in the same class, so to speak, the same class of racers. So if anybody has like advanced knowledge of, oh, I'm going to add weight with this paper cardboard box, that's like the secret knowledge that some people will understand and others won't, and that won't be fair to those people who don't understand that. For whatever reason, some people don't understand that. Adding paper weight onto a car can add additional weight to the car. Or some people don't want to care to understand that. I'm not sure. But anyway, so yeah, it's just seen as an unfair advantage in some cases. Okay, so we've clipped off the top segments. Those are easy. Now it gets a little harder, because when we clip off these parts here, sometimes it leaves a little dent or a bubble. So we want to carefully do these ones, clip off these ones. So here, lining up flat, and there we go. And see, it leaves a little thing right there. There's like in the reflection you can see there's a big spot right there. And so we want to try to get as close as possible all that stuff off, if we can, any of those stuff, so that we don't have something sticking out from the side. So that's very hard in some cases. We have to be very careful. And if you have a God hand side cutters, you can do this much more easily than with a Tamiya side cutter, unless it's new. So this is a relatively new pair of side cutters, so you can do it more easily with this. So here, we just want to make sure that when we roll these wheels like this, right, that they pretty much are aligned and they don't wobble too much, right? So here we go. And that's relatively aligned. It's not perfect, but again, we're not going to use these particular tires and wheels for tune class and above, so I'm not too worried about it. I think they look cool, so when we're done with this, we'll have a very nice, cool looking car. You can also shave these off too, like use a sanding block and shave them down, but you're not really supposed to do that, right? So the rules say that you can't alter, you can't sand things down on your box stock cars. That would be unfair. That would be like unfair to other people who don't have that secret knowledge, right? So, and also you want to try to build according to what the instructions say, not anything additional that might give you an unfair advantage. So it's all about trying to mitigate unfair advantages in racers. So there you go. So again, flattest part, clip off. Try to get this as flat as possible, and then when you roll a tire like this, it should be relatively straight. Yep, not wobble too much. Though you probably can't see the wobble as, or I mean, you might see it much more easily actually. So yeah. Okay, so here, where did it go? Here it is. I'm going to throw this out. There's nothing left on there. And as you see, we roll these wheels, and they seem nice. Yep, very nice. That's nice, that one right there. And we can assemble these wheels just like so. So you find the two rear ones, and you match them up with the widest of the tires. And what you want to do is there's a flat part, and there's a rounded beveled part. So the beveled part is the stuff that's on the outside. So here we're going to try to match up and press this inward like so, and then we just turn, and I'm pushing my thumbs into the tire some more, turn, push my thumbs into the tire more, push. It's pushing the thumb into the wheel, into the tire, and we try to flatten this out so that this is uniform. You see that little lip right there? We want to make sure it's uniform all around the wheel. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good, right? So you can use basically you can use the press technique. You can hold this down like this, and with my fingers, I've got the tire right here, and I'm holding it still, and I'm pressing down. I'm turning the tire and pressing the wheel down, so you can use this method right here. If you were to try to just push this wheel into the tire like this, well, you can't go very far. You can't get very far because there's a lip all around the wheel, right? So you could get the tire to be flush against the wheel, or you can you can also try this too. You can press down like this if you think that might help. But I would say that this would kind of like mess with this part here, the flatness of this part. If you're just at a slight angle and you're pressing down like this, you might kind of mess up the inner axle. Not the axle, but the axle holder, this part here, where the axle goes into, the shaft goes into. So you don't want to mess with that too much. So use your fingers and just push in until you cannot push in anymore. Same here. So don't I talk a lot? Some people don't like the fact that I talk so much. So, so there. Press, 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 press. Oh, I could talk a lot more than what I'm talking right now. That's for sure. So press, press, press. And yeah, and just take a visual inspection and check to see that the lip is uniform all around the tire wheel. Yeah, and I think it is. And then we're going to take these narrower wheels and do the same thing with this. Now, what would happen if I flip this backwards? Would that change the performance of the car a little bit? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But in general, though, these tires here are beveled in a symmetrical way. The front and the back are pretty much similar. There are wheels out there where it might not be the case, where it's symmetrical like this from the top view. So here, because this is symmetrical, then it's probably not going to make much of a difference. So here we go, press, 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 press. You can also push, push, push like this to try to get to this lip uniform all throughout. It's not, so I'm going to give it some more pushes and presses. These soft tires also. Beware of soft tires, everybody, because these soft tires can fly off of the wheels. So yeah, that's the negative about soft tires. They can fly off of wheels, especially if they go too fast. If the cars go too fast, that is. So I'm going to show you what it looks like if we did put this in backwards. So it looks like this. Now, this doesn't look bad. It kind of looks cool, flattened like this, but the aesthetic look of it is just wrong. If you take a look at the back of it, it's like, well, that's not quite right. So it seems to be better if this flat part were behind it, because then it could take advantage of the lip that's right here. So if this were curved inward, as you see here, and you're pressing it against this lip here, it's probably, I don't think it'll be as stable as if it were flat up against the lip, if that makes sense. So your mileage may vary. You might experiment away and find out that, oh, flipping the tires inside out like that or backwards might be better. Who knows? So give it a try if you'd like. And let's take a look here. We're going to look all around and make sure that, yes, it looks like it's good right here. And yes, very, very good. Now, there is a technique that you can do. You could take these bumps right here. these like parts where you cut off the rubber tree, and you align them with the spoke. And then when you're putting these wheel set onto a shaft, the point where there's this tree bump here would be in perfect alignment. And you kind of want that. You kind of want that perfect alignment, so when there's a rotation, it always hits the two bumps at exactly the same point. If you had a bump here and on another wheel you have, say, the bump in a different spot, like here, let's see, let's find that spot. Here it is. This here is not in line with this spoke. So if I were to put this on to a shaft, because this is a hex shape right there, that hole, and the shaft is a hex shape, when I put this on, what's going to happen is it's going to be aligned with these spokes right here. So here we have this bump on the top where it should be in line with the spoke, but here we have this bump off. It's further back. So the part here, the part of the tire that's above where the spoke is, there's nothing. So what's going to happen is you get what's called the jalopy effect, where when the tires spin, it gives this very subtle, like, back and forth, up and down. And that's enough to kind of like lower the speed of your car. So you want to try to make sure that both sets of tires and wheels align properly. So I'm going to remove these wheels quickly, and we're just going to align them properly so that we have the best chance for this to be in perfect alignment. So here we go. We're just lining up the spoke to where the bump is. And it might not be totally perfect, but it'll be better than it was before. Okay, very good. So now the bump should be where it should be. Where's the bump? Okay, here it is. Here's the bump. Let's also do that with this one, because this one, even though it was closer to where the spoke was, it was still a little off. So I'm not confident about it. You want to be a little anal about all of these things, because you want to win a race, right? So if you want to win a race, then you have to make sure that all of the variables that could affect your winning the race are kind of like resolved. So here we go. We're lining up the bump with the spoke. I had a conversation, a very interesting conversation with one of my, I'll say fan, because he said that he told me he was a fan. And we were at a race today, and he said, you know, I've been watching you for a long time and your videos and stuff, and I look up to you, and it would be cool if you like started winning more races, because like I know a fair number of people who watch your videos and learn from you, and we all look up to you. So it'd be cool if you kept winning races like you used to. And I know that you're focusing on other things. I know that you're focusing on yoga, and still though, like it would be cool if you won races. And I thought about all of this. I thought about what he said and what he implied by all of this, and I was like, yeah, he's right. I've been putting this stuff aside for the longest time. This was not like my priority. And really, like, the reason why a lot of people are in this hobby is because of my videos. And I'm not saying that as a boast or anything like that, but if somebody looks up to you, you have an obligation to continue doing well so that people can continue to have faith in what you're doing. Because if you have people that don't have faith in what you're doing anymore, then, you know, like, they're not going to continue watching your videos, and they're not going to continue trusting what you say. So I'm going to do my best to try to do very well in future competitions. So in other words, I'm going to care more and I'm going to just do the best I can, right? So there are some very competitive racers out there, and they all learned from my videos and various other videos out there, and yeah, so they're like really, really good. So on any given Sunday, these people are going to be amongst the best of the best. And that's just how it is. Like sometimes someone who has never raced professionally before can beat a professional racer or a semi-professional racer, and that's just the way it is. That's just how it is in this hobby. It's like sometimes it's random, right? But still, they learned their knowledge from somebody, and it would be nice if that somebody whom they learned their knowledge from would fare well at a race, and then they could like say, ah, yeah, I met such and she really was the formidable racer that I thought she was, and that'd be like really, really cool. So I'm going to continue to try, everybody. I'm going to refresh my motors, I'm going to replace parts, I'm going to do things that I can to continue to promote this hobby to the best of my ability. So yeah, you have my word on that, definitely. But yeah, I have been focusing a lot on other things. In the past year, I entered the World Yoga Championship, and yes, I can now say that I'm ranked number 6 in the world in yoga, and that's really cool and all, but to Mini 4-wheel drive racers, like, who cares, right? It's like, it's neat that yeah, this girl who's like a teacher of Mini 4-wheel drive stuff is also a yoga teacher and a yoga athlete, but it's like, who cares, right? So we only care about Mini 4-wheel drive when we're watching Mini 4-wheel drive videos. Okay, so here we now have this lined up, yes, above the spoke. This lined up, wait, where is it? Above the spoke, right here. And so when we flip this like this, and we put this on the ends of a shaft, then these bumps will be in alignment with one another. Very, very cool. That's what we wanted. So we're going to set these aside. So we'll call them perfect wheels. And we'll do the same thing with this. I just got to try to find, oh, here. And I did line this up, the bump above the spoke. And for this, I did almost the same. This is just slightly off, as you see here. I'm going to get this to be more in alignment. So, yeah. When I get a little tired, I can't speak very well, I think. People say to me, well, you seem to not know English anymore. Like, isn't English your first language? And my response to that is, no, it's not, believe it or not. Chinese is actually my first language. English is my second language, but I don't use Chinese anymore, unfortunately. So it's a shame, because like, if I still knew Chinese, I could communicate with a fair number of people. But then it'd be like, I would be creating like a secret society, right? So I don't want to do that. I don't want to just speak Chinese in front of people and only Chinese people will understand me, when really, like, I want my audience to be like, well, it's an American audience that I mostly cater to, I think, right? So a lot of people come to my videos because they come watch my videos because there are very few English-speaking videos out there on Mini 4-wheel drive. Like, you'll get some, but then they start off speaking English, but then they suddenly get into the Filipino language or Indonesian language or Japanese or some other language, and then all goes to heck because you don't understand what they're saying, and then you turn the translator on. And the translator sometimes doesn't translate very well. And so, yeah, I think people who want or seeking English-speaking videos on Mini 4-wheel drive, they want someone to actually speak entirely in English. So that's my appeal. I think people come to me for that purpose. So yeah. Even if you don't like my videos, even if you don't like all the information in it, there's still a lot of stuff that you can learn from each video. No doubt about that. Anybody who has issues with what I say, like technical-wise on Mini4WD Drive, you can always comment in the comment section. You can say, oh no, you're not completely right. You should do this instead. That's perfectly fine. I will not be upset by that. So I'm learning just as much as you guys are. Like, to call myself a teacher or sensei or shihan or something like that, like, senseis and shihans can learn too. Like, once you become a teacher in something, that doesn't mean that you stop learning. You're always learning. That's what a true teacher is all about. Like, you get to a point where you can start teaching this stuff, but you're still learning things too. So a good teacher is a lifelong student. So it's always been that way for me. So some of you know that I have a love for education. Like, I totally love education. I love education so much that I have 3 master's degrees, 1 in computer science, 1 in computer engineering, 1 in law. And these master's degrees, 2 of them from Ivy League schools, University of Pennsylvania. I also went to Harvard for a summer class. For my undergrad, I went to Boston U. But for grad school, I have 2 Ivy League University of Penn degrees. So I love education that much that I have 3 master's degrees. Never got my PhD, unfortunately. Like, it would have been cool if I got my PhD, because then I'd be a professor in computer science, but then I didn't want to exactly do that. After a while, I got sick of the subject that I was studying, and I just stopped it. And instead, I said, I want to focus on other things. So everyone in my family said, why doesn't she just go work? She's got... I got my first master's degree when I was 21, and that was like a very young age to get a master's degree. And I was like all set on getting a PhD by the age of 23, 24. And that would have been great had I passed the comprehensive exam. There's something about being a little too young and not being ready for something like a comprehensive exam. So a comprehensive exam is at the PhD level. You have to take all these courses, know all of this knowledge, and then you have to kind of like pass these comprehensive exams that test every aspect of your knowledge. And if you have holes, gaps in that knowledge, you probably won't do very well. So I end up having like fairly large gaps of knowledge because I rushed through a lot of things. And I shouldn't have. I should have just taken my sweet old time, just learning everything and just questioning everything. But when I was younger, I just didn't care to. I really cared about doing things quickly rather than taking time and making things, like learning things in a very robust way. So, yeah, that's a lesson to all of you who are going for advanced degrees in graduate school after college. Take your time. Don't rush through anything. It's very important that if you're at an advanced level in any subject, that you question everything while you're taking that course. By questioning everything, you get to be able to understand more of the subject than your average student. If your goal is to just rush through your classes, you can do that. You can get your master's degree by the age of 21 like I did. But you're going to be losing out on a lot of in-depth thought process that like you would not be able to receive if you just rush through things. So don't rush through your schooling. It's very important that you pay all this money, right? Like, why are you trying to rush through things? Like, I thought about this years later after I finished those degrees, my first 2 master's degrees. And I said, you know, you really did things wrong. Like, like, you're an idiot. And yeah, I sometimes call myself an idiot because it's like, yeah, I'm not an idiot, but I'm like not as wise. When I was younger, I was not as wise as I am now. So when I was in law school, which I finished last year, it took me 4 years to get this master in law degree, even though like some people, they can finish it in 1 to 2 years. I decided to do it in 4 years because I did it part-time and I did one class at a time, and I wanted to learn everything about each of the subjects that I took. So I sat there in class and questioned everything. Anything that I didn't understand in the least bit, I questioned. And it's not that I like would raise my hand and then make myself a nuisance in class. No, no, no. I'd write down all of these questions and try to find the answers to them myself using the resources I had available. And only if I just totally didn't understand something and couldn't find the answer, then and only then, I would ask the teacher the question. So yeah, in law school, you don't want to necessarily look like a pest in your class. People will hate you for that. Also, if you make yourself look like a pest to your professor, that's also bad too. So you have to try to make a solid effort to try to find the answer yourself, because the whole point of law school is to try to figure out things on your own. You take these classes, you learn a lot of stuff, the teacher gives you some knowledge, but you're basically on your own to try to figure out the rest of it. So what you see, what you're supposed to learn in each law class, you get this syllabus and it gives you ideas of what you're supposed to be learning. Well, a lot of that learning process happens on your own. You only get to stay in class for like 3 hours a week. So outside of class, you have to do all of this research. You have to read all the readings. You have to do additional readings. So let's say you have 60 to 90 pages per week to read on cases. Boring, boring, boring cases. And you don't understand everything in the case in totality. Like, the cases will always reference other cases. What do? Well, you look up those other cases, and now suddenly your cases that are like 60 to 90 pages, now we're looking at somewhere upwards of 300 pages to read. This is not a joke. Like, this is what you have to put in at a minimum if you want to understand the stuff in law school. If you just read your 60 to 90 pages that were assigned to you every week, you might get an okay understanding of things, but you won't get a complete understanding of things. You have to do your research and read all the additional supplemental stuff. And in the supplemental materials, they might also refer to other cases. So now we go from 300 pages to 500 pages of reading per week, all to understand what the heck is going on for that subject in that particular week. This is not a joke. Like, if you want to go to law school and you want to excel in it, you have to do this. You could also breeze through things and just get barely good grades in law school, but what good is that, right? You won't pass the bar exam if you just barely know your stuff. You have to do the additional research. You have to learn the additional things that are necessary to understand the puzzles that are in law school. So every week there are questions posed, and they're like puzzles. And you have to figure out how you would go about deciding on what should be done in certain cases, right? So you have a case, there are questions in the case to be answered, and you have to do your research and find out more information about the cases that led to this case that you're reading currently. And then you have to go back and look at even further back at the original cases. And then suddenly, like I said, 60 to 90 pages ends up being 500 pages and more if you really, really want to learn everything about it. And so, yeah, law school's not for everybody. it is certainly not for the faint of heart. I'm just going to say right now that at a school like Penn, University of Pennsylvania, it's mega hard. And when I was in law school, there were a lot of smart people there, and a lot of people knew more about politics and political science stuff than I did. They knew more about world events. But when it came to the logical reasoning aspects, like, I think I had a lot of them beat because I was very persistent. I wanted to discover like why a certain case like ended up the way it was, and I wouldn't give up until I found the answer from long ago. So I did the hundreds of pages of additional reading each week, and yeah. I ended up being at the top of my class for it, too. It's pretty cool. I got an award for that. So my name is commemorated on the walls of Penn for being the top student in the Master in Law class. That's pretty cool. So, yeah. That's how I should have approached my master's degrees when I was younger. But unfortunately, I was too boneheaded to understand that, and I just wanted to quickly rush through and get my degrees and just become a professor at the age of 23 or 24, and that's not the way to do things. You want to take your time, especially if you want to be a professor. So yeah. Anyone who has kids that are thinking about graduate school, please, please have them do what I just said. Like, take your time. Don't rush through things. It's not worth rushing through things. I also had a lot of fun in grad school too. Like, I had a lot more freedom than in undergrad, and so I just like went out to parties all the time, and that's also not good. If you're going to grad school, you better just study. That's my word of advice for that. You can do your partying afterwards, but yeah. So yeah, and partying is basically going out. For me, it's going out and dancing and going to dance clubs and listening to cool music and stuff. So I was always like a goody two-shoes. I never did drugs, and I didn't smoke. I didn't drink until I was of age. Well, for the most part, that's true, yes. And I would criticize people for drinking, especially if they were underage. And that's probably like, that was the prude side of me. But yeah, these days I'm like a lot more relaxed about it. It's like, just do what you need to do to cope with the world. The world is crazy. So do what you need to do and do the best you can. And if your best isn't good enough, then oh well, find something else. So find some other place you can like do great at. Not everybody's going to like you, and that's cool. You know, like, not everybody likes me, and that's cool. Sometimes you have to deal with people who don't like you. But in your workplace, people should like you. Otherwise, it'll be very challenging to move up in your job if people don't like you. So yeah, there are people who complain about, oh, I'm not getting the raise that I want to get. And it's like, well, find a different job then. Don't complain about it. Sometimes if you complain about things, it's like, what can that actually do? Okay, so here we have these parts here. I clipped off all of the little burrs, the plastic burrs on these pieces here. And now I can fit these pieces in here. And I'm going to just press on them like this to make sure there's no additional burrs on them. And they seem smooth. And I think these rollers seem smooth. It doesn't really matter too much about these particular items here just because we're going to replace them at some point soon, but I want everybody to see what the basic model looks like. So yeah, this right now we've gone over well over an hour and almost an hour and a half, right? And we're not even in a stage where we're building this yet. We're just trimming parts off the trees and stuff and just yapping about things. But I feel that all of these subjects are very important. They're life subjects, that's what they are. They're things about like what you should do and not do in life and things like that. So one of the big questions that some people ask me is like, should my child go to college, right? So I would say that in today's day and age, whatever you can do to distinguish yourself from another person is a good thing. So yeah, not everybody needs to go to college. In fact, most people shouldn't go to college. But if you are going to be compared against, say, 100 other people, and those other people also didn't go to college, then the one thing that could distinguish you from the 99 other people is the fact that you went to college. But you can find some other thing that you might think is great, and that might distinguish you from those 99 other people. Who knows? You might be some sort of master plumber, for example. You don't have to go to college for plumbing, but you do have to go be an apprentice at some plumbing company to be able to be a plumber. You don't have to go to college to be an electrician. You can go to specialized trade school for, I think, a year, 2 years, and you could be a master electrician. So yeah, not everything requires a college degree. However, some of these other subjects like plumbing and electrician work, their work may require just as much like amount of knowledge, if not more, than what you learn in college. So in college, a lot of people see a lot of the courses in college as a waste of time. And I'm going to just tell you right now that they are not wrong. There are a lot of courses that are a waste of time. They make you take these courses because the universities want to make lots of money. And that's cool, but on the flip side, the reason why you're forced to take all these additional courses is they want you to be a well-rounded person. That's how it was kind of like packaged to all of us when we were going to college back in the late 80s. So they wanted everybody to be a well-rounded person. What does a well-rounded person mean? Okay, so here these rubbers are they're a little stiff because this is an older kit. If this was a newer kit with these rubbers, these rubber O-rings would be a lot softer. But the stiff O-rings are good in a way, right? Because they're going to act more like plastic, but they still have the properties of rubber. So I would say that this being in between the soft rubber of a more modern O-ring, a newer O-ring, and plastic, it's in between that. This probably is like the best of both worlds right here. So okay, so here's the bottom and here's the top. There is a top and there is a bottom on these rollers. So the bottom one usually looks a little flatter and plainer, and the top part looks like it's more decorative. So I think this is the top part, the more decorative part. But for some people don't even care if they have these flipped upside down, but it really shouldn't matter, but it does. So here we go. We're going to put these O-rings on here. And there's a way to put the O-rings on too, right? So you can't just simply like curl them over like that. You should really kind of stretch them a little bit and get them around like that. Because if you curl them in, then you've got this weird force of tension thing going on. It's not good. So I kind of like lifted it and pulled it over, and now it kind of like snapped in place, just like that. So here is the top, and here's the bottom. Okay, so the bottom is more shallow, as you see. If you take a look at the angle here, like all of this, the pattern, the spokes, it's higher up on the top side. On the bottom side, they're deeper down. So that's how you can tell the top from the bottom. So here, this is the top, and this is the bottom. So another one of these O-rings. This is also kind of like stiffish. I'm going to place one end around like this. We're going to pull this like this, and then it snaps in place, and we're good to go. So like I said, don't roll the rubber onto the O-ring. Just pull gently and place it over the opposite lip. So you hold it securely like this, pull it opposite lip, and let it snap in place, just like that. Okay, so college. Why do they make you take all of these extra courses in college? It's because they want to make money, of course. That's every university's goal. But also to make you a well-rounded person. And so what the heck is a well-rounded person? Why is this a different color than these two? So a well-rounded person means, you see this? This is like a reddish copper, and these are like goldish copper. Weird. Are these gold? I don't know. But it's certainly a different color from this. And in the newer kits, I think they're all the same color. They're all the same like gold color, instead of one being like a reddish copper color. So weird. I don't know, maybe that's what makes this kit superior to the newer kits. I don't know. But anyway, you take all of these courses, and these courses are supposed to help you become a more well-rounded person. So you take these subjects that are not part of your major, right? So let's say you were to major in math, then they would force you to take courses that are in the humanities and social sciences, which are the different subject areas that a math person would generally not want to take courses from. So math majors will probably not want to take writing courses, and so writing is a requirement for every college major, except for maybe engineers, but I think they do that in some engineering schools too. So everybody's got to take some English composition and learn how to write. So why do you go to college? Because you want to become a well-rounded person, so you can learn how to write reports and stuff like that. So writing a report is very important, especially if one day you want to be a manager. So if you cannot write, you probably will not be a manager unless you are a manager for a technical thing, right? So if you want to be like a manager that manages people, and you write and get your point across to higher up people like chief executive officers or presidents, vice presidents, you must know how to write, because any president who is going to read your report, if they see that you can't write, if they see that you write like a fifth grader, they're not going to take you seriously, and you're probably not going to advance in their company. That's just the way it is. So if you go to college and you learn how to write well, and you get your point across very well, and you don't have any spelling and grammatical mistakes when you're writing your reports, you'll be seen in a much better light than someone who cannot write at all. And yeah, it's just that the people that are at the top are most likely going to be people who went to college, and they will be able to write these reports. And so if they see that you are on the same level as them, they will take you seriously. If they see that you're not on the same level as them, they may not take you seriously. But you might have some skills that they need very, very strongly. So if you have those skills and you can convince them that having those skills is more important than your ability to write, then of course you're going to be seen as valuable, and yeah, you might be able to advance in a different way. So these are just generalizations. They're not laws or anything like that, not rules for life. It's just, these are just kind of like, this is how it is. In my 58 years of living on this earth, this is how it is. So your mileage may vary. Other people may say different things. But in general, this is what I've seen so far in a lot of different companies out there too. So yeah, so I didn't just work for university for all of my adult work life. I also worked for a consulting company, and I traveled around the US, and I fixed things in major companies, big high-performance computers, these big refrigerator-sized computers. And they would be in cold environments and have to wear like a winter jacket walking into some of these cold server rooms. Server rooms, do you remember those? Yeah, now Amazon like runs all of everybody's servers. But in the olden days, companies had their own server rooms, basically in the basement of some office building. And the poor system administrators or other technical people would have to go walk into these cold environments and get everything set up in there so that they would not have to go into those cold environments as much. So if you try to set everything up so that you can access things remotely, then you've done well for yourself. You can just access the computers remotely, and yeah, you don't have to go into the server room. You can do things remotely. They can ask you to allocate disk space and memory requirements for various jobs for certain things, and so yeah, you can make a lot of money that way. And you don't have to walk into the cold server room anymore. But in smaller companies, you probably still have to walk into a cold server room. So here, whoa, that's smooth. Look at that. So this is my shaft checker here, and the shaft checker checks for the straightness of the shaft. So here we go. That moved through there like butter. This is like the first time that I've ever like experienced a shaft so smooth. The last time I experienced, no, this is not the first time. The last time that I experienced a shaft this smooth was years back when I purchased a whole bunch of Tamiya made in Japan kits. The made in the Philippines kits don't seem to have straight shafts like this. So this might be a Philippines kit, but it might have been like the olden. Oh, this one's not completely straight, but it's still smooth. Like I can still pull it out smoothly. This still goes in fairly well. Not now, but it goes in. So if it goes in like 3 out of 4 times smoothly, then I'm okay with it. And things could get stuck in these shaft checkers for no apparent reason too, like extra dust and stuff. So that's why a lot of people, they wipe these down with like an alcohol wipe before they try to pass them through the shaft checker. So it's not completely straight, but that's okay. We can still use this. Because I've raced cars with not completely straight shafts before, there is a technique that you can use to keep your car fast. If one shaft is really straight and the other shaft is not, you keep the really straight shaft close to where the motor is. And so, well, let's put it this way. 99% of the time, put the straight shaft in the front and then the not so straight shaft in the rear, and then you'll do fairly well. So, or really well, that is. fairly is like too soft a word. We want to do better than fairly well. We want to do really well. Okay, so I'm going to clean these shafts because this one Japanese lady told a friend of mine that you really should be wiping down all of these parts because all these parts will have kinds of like debris, like fine particle debris accumulating on them. So you want to make sure that things are completely clean before you use them. Metal parts, wiping with alcohol is a good thing. And this shaft here, this propeller shaft, probably not going to use this for that much. This seems like a solid one right here. It seems like it's thicker than it normally is. Huh. Maybe that's why people like these. This appears to be a thicker shaft than... Let me see. Let me see what's going on here. Because this seems like a little weird to me. Let's take a look in one of these. It is. Look at this. Look how thin that FMA chassis shaft is compared to this. This shaft here that you get with an SFM is a lot thicker than the FMA chassis shaft, the propeller shaft. Look at this. That's a huge difference right there. And yeah, it's like, if I look at this, it looks flimsy. It looks like I can bend it easily. This one looks like it's more solid. It'll take a lot more work to bend it. So you can see right here the difference in thickness, diameter of the SFM chassis propeller shaft versus the FMA chassis propeller shaft. Yeah, it's a big difference. So yeah, being a well-rounded person is a very important thing according to colleges. And really, it's all about making extra money to take courses that you don't really need. But in some cases, if you want to be a certain something, like a manager, for example, then you probably should know how to write. And you don't need college to learn how to write. You basically should have learned how to write back in high school, but a lot of people didn't pay attention in high school, so college is like a second chance for a lot of people. So if you don't pay attention in high school, then college is where you'll have your second opportunity to learn the things that you missed the first time around. So yeah, that's just how it is. So we can also use the alcohol wipes to wipe down the washers. Like, some people get very anal about washing everything. They can dip their parts into lighter fluid and just clean everything that way. If you want to get everything off of your metal parts, you don't really have to be that anal retentive. You can just wipe them down here, just like what I'm doing, by doing a rub right here on this alcohol pad. You just have to make sure that when you're using the alcohol pad, that you're not accidentally rubbing off some of the very fine cotton fibers that are on the alcohol pad onto, like, you don't want them to attach onto the metal parts. So that's the only thing that you have to fear about. You also could wipe these parts clean right here for the batteries to contact, and for these, this will contact some other part here too. So yeah, cleaning these parts, just wiping them down is a good idea. Yep. There we go. Nice. Okay, so we're done with that, and let's see. Some people like to decorate their cowls first. I generally do it last. So I skip on to this part here, part number 3, like section 3. And it says right here that you should put these things in here like this. So you need these 2 orange pieces. And here's the front. And we'll put this orange piece right here. Some people like to also wash these things too. So where does it go? It goes here. And this one goes here. And this shaft goes, the propeller shaft goes here. Now, the propeller shaft, you have to make sure that the propeller shaft fits in here like this, and there's not too much wiggle or waggle, as Mad Tang would call it. There's a lot of waggle right here. So take a look. This is what waggle is. Take a look at what's there, and I'm going to move it back and forth. You see? There's like so much space right there, from there to where this part is, just like that. So much space. So we want to try to reduce that space as much as possible so that there's fewer vibrations. So how do we do that? We can take something like this, and let me see. I think we can use this item right here for that purpose. I have a specialty gadget right here, and Let's see, let's see. This is for removing pinions, but this one is for tightening pinions onto things. So let me see if this works with this. I think it does not, but let's see. I think this is really too thick for this. Yeah, it doesn't fit into the slot right here. This is for 1.4 millimeter shafts, but this doesn't seem to, yeah, it's just too thick for this tool. This is an Inamoto tool. This is an actual Inamoto tool. I got this from DXN, back when DXN was still doing a lot of mini four-wheel drive races, and they got lots of parts from Japan. And so yeah, it's very cool. So what can we do here to try to get this closer in? So what I can do is this. I could take, let me see, I think this also, does this fit in here in case something goes dreadfully awry? It does not. So, well, let me just see something here. Did I build this with also a very thick shaft like that? I did. And does this waggle around like that? For some odd reason, I don't believe it to be true, but who knows? I don't think this waggled around as much. So what I'm going to do is take this. Let's see if I can find it. I'm just going to push it in more with this tool right here. You can get this from any MA or MS kit. And I'm going to push this down. Just get this a little closer. Okay. I don't think it did anything. Yeah, I don't think it did much at all. So, oh wait, maybe it did. It looks like it did stick in a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so let's try again. Ooh, I think I did a little too much. So it was a little too aggressive right there. So I'm going to try to push this out some. Or wait, maybe this thing. Maybe this is a good use for this one. Nope. Yeah, I was a little too aggressive on this, so let's see if I can flatten it out. Oh, wait, it does fit in here. Okay, I'm going to push this in. Good. Okay, I'm back out again. That's good. So, I fit this inside here. Okay, so we got the waggle that we felt back there. So there's that waggle. Let's try to pop this in a little bit more. Okay. Maybe pop this in a little bit more. Okay. All right, so here it's like very snug now. I can hardly move it. So I'm going to try to push it out a smidge, and I think this side is the side where I want to push it out. Good. So just a little bit, just like that. Okay. Yeah, now it's not sticking out as much. Now, when I put this in, I think it's a little better. It could be a little, I could make it, yeah, it does have a little wiggle now. You can see it, it's a little bit. Let me do a little bit more, still in the side. Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. I would say a smidge more, just a smidge. So I did the yoga championships last year, the World Yoga Championships, and I'm ranked number 6 in the world, which took a lot of energy out of me. So I think I'm going to skip this year of doing the yoga championships. I normally do them every year. They've been a lot on my body. Like it really, like working out and maintaining an Olympic level physique is very, very difficult. And to have that physique for like the better part of the year is very, very difficult. Okay, so here, see it, you can see that it can move. Yeah. Okay, so we can adjust this later, but right now what I have here is something that I like. I'm going to use the black and the tan. So here it's telling us to align this so that this, I think the big part, yeah, is got to be on the inside. So, is it? Yeah. Just like that. And they want you to lubricate all of this. So they want you to use this blue tube of white stuff, this lubricant, this grease. And I don't like this stuff. So for me, personally, I'd rather use this stuff right here. But for this, all the insides of these parts, I'd actually rather use this. I'll show you. The oil pen right here. So for the oil pen, I like to do this. Bloop, and flip it to the other side. Bloop, and I would put this back in place. And here, same thing. Bloop, and bloop, and put this back in place. Bloop, and bloop. There we go. And put this back in place. Now, for the grease, we're going to use this Cera grease, HG. Put a little bit in here. Small amount. And just run it along here. Move the gear, move the pinion gear while you're wiping this grease on to the pinion gear. Less is more. If you have too much of this anywhere on any of these pinion gears, on any of these gears, Having too much could be bad because you get an accumulation of this grease all gooking up on the inside. That could be bad. All right. Eventually all this grease will then attract, well, it's not attracting the hairs or dust, but dust gets inside, little fine hairs get inside, and then it basically accumulates onto the grease. And then it becomes this big mess, and it can actually slow down the movement of the parts. Okay, so I think we're done with that. So now we move on to inserting the wheels and the shafts. Okay, so we need to know which is the straighter shaft, and that's going to be our front part. So I think this was the straighter shaft right here. Yes, it is. And how about this one? Yes, that does not move through here as easily. If I flipped it the other way, it goes through. So let's do this as the front. And we're going to attach this right on here, like so. We're going to use something to tap this in place on here. So what I like to use is my wheel press as sort of a hammer. So I have this part here, the flat part here, and we will simply knock this in place gently. There we go. Now, you want to test how smooth this is by placing this in here like this. Yeah, nice. Spins nice. We also want to tap this into one of our wide wheels. It's not as smooth, but it's still smooth. So you can also try the other side too. This is going to be easier, right? It'll be smoother. Now, even if it's a smidge wobbly like this, as it is right now, once we use the wheel press, it will flatten out things and everything will be more true. So don't worry if there's a smidge of wobble on here. Never worry about those things. That's nice. We're going to use this right here in the front. Of course, we're going to place these little, so we got to use this with the metal right here. And the metal, we're going to put some grease inside, some oil that is. So here, let's see, we need to put, I think the parts with the plastic nicks on the outside. Yeah. Okay, good. So we're going to drop this in place. Just like this. We'll press it in place. It's going to look like this. And we're going to put this into the well right here. So there you go, just like that. And we're going to take our oil pencil, just like that. We're also going to do that with the other three. And so we find the part with the nick on it, and that's our outside right there. And we add one of these things here, press it in place. Come on. Yes. Other side. So the racing community of Mini 4-wheel drive, a lot of lovely people are a part of that. And it's really cool to see that. So, lovely families. A lot of kind-hearted folks. Like the backyard races that I was invited to recently. Such lovely people. So, Chris, Chewy, and Eileen Chewy, perfect hosts. They're so open and caring. Very, very cool people. Okay, so here we go. Place this in here like this. And now we place this. Remember, we were lining up the two bumps, right? So where is that bump? You have to find the bump with the spoke. Right? So here it is, right here. Here's the spoke, here's the bump, and now we find the same thing on this side here. The spoke and the bump, right here. Is it that one? It is that one. So we place this like here, and we gently press. Yeah, it's going to slide on fairly easily, right? But you want to try to use the press to finish it, right? So here's the press, and I'm going to set up the press. Oops, what's going on here? Yes, I'm going to set up the press like so, and I'm going to hold the wheels down like so. I'm going to move these parts out of the way so these don't influence how straight this is. So as you see here, I've got this thing going on right here. I'm pressing with my fingers the wheels, the tires down onto the press, and then now I'm going to turn this. And we gently turn, about 3 turns, then back 1. Gently turn, 3 turns, then back 1. 1, 2, 3, back 1. 1, 2, 3, back 1. The reason why we do this is because we don't want to keep tightening, 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 and then potentially warping the shaft. So we're just doing a little at a time and then loosening, a little at a time and loosening, so that we allow the tension to be even, like more even across. So gentle, 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 tighten. And because this is a shaft for a box stock, there's always going to be a little wiggle room right here. I have rarely seen, I've seen maybe one car where you can over tighten and then the wheels are like so tight on the car that there's no wiggle room. So I've seen that happen one time. So you want to try to get them on as tight as possible, but not over tighten it, and then loosen. So here we go. This is what it looks like. So there's a little bit of waggle right there. You can do it again until you're satisfied that that's as tight as it goes. And that's pretty good right there. And you see it spins nicely right there. So yeah, if we were to take this out, look how smooth that is. And it sounds nice too. And the wheels are straight, more or less. Yeah. Very nice. Now let's do the same for the other side. So here, turn it to the back side, and now we insert this in there. So we're going to also do the same thing with these parts here. Find the part, the side where the notch is on top. So the notch is right there. And we're going to place one of these little divot things. No, that's not it. Here it is. Right on there. And we're going to place it right inside this. There. And then we're going to insert this right in here. So this weekend was a virtual yoga championship, and it's just a qualifier. So the qualifiers are basically like you need to do a qualifier to be able to compete in the national championship. So it used to be the case that the qualifiers were all live, and that's how I've always approached all of my contests, by trying to do them live rather than in a virtual environment. I think virtual, you're missing out a lot in competition by doing it that way. I think that, yeah, if you can't afford to be in a certain place because it's expensive, then yeah, you can do the virtual championship, but it's never the same as doing it live. So you want to do things live in front of a live audience as much as possible so that you can prepare yourself for the actual event. So if you just do it live in the comfort, if you just do it online in the comfort of your own home, these virtual championships, you never get that exact competition feel. And when it comes time to do the actual championship live, and you've just done things virtually all this time, you're not getting the same kind of effect, the preparation. It's hard to be in front of a whole bunch of people live. It's easier to be in front of a computer screen and doing it in front of nobody but yourself. So I would not consider virtual qualifiers to be of the same strength in preparation as actually being in a live event. So there. And I think the reason why I've done so well in the past is because I always insisted on entering live competitions rather than virtual competitions. So there we go. So that's how the expression is cut your teeth. That's how you can cut your teeth on contests like that. You want to try to compete in as real world of an environment as possible in any championship. Okay, so here, let's see, where is that? There it is, right there. And this one is right up here. I'll line them up and they should more or less be the same. Let's see. Comma. Is this going to work? Let's see. Yes, there it is. Okay. It's not totally aligned. I see that one of them is a little off, so let's see which is the one that's more off. It is this side here. So this has to be down a little bit more. So I'm going to remove this wheel and redo it, and we'll get this to line up better. I'd rather do this with the wheel not attached to the shaft, but it's okay. Okay, here we go. All right. I think we pushed the wheel in all the way already. Okay, let's take a look at this. Pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to use the press. Same thing as before. Hold it down, just like so. And we'll press in. I think we don't have to go that far. There. I think these are the same tires as you get on on one of my other cars, the Black Bear car. Same kinds of wheels. Okay, so now we place this here, like so. Oh, so this should spin freely too. So so not too bad. And we'll put this in here like so. Very nice. Okay. And the next set of instructions say, what do we do next? It's about assembling, yes, the the motor compartment on section 5 here. So the motor compartment is this item here. Let's see, this, and we turn this upside down like this, and we place this little part here in here, just like so. And I think this snaps right in place here. Yeah. Okay, just like that. And then this part here, the long one, goes like this. Okay, that snaps in place. And now we place the motor in there. So, okay, the motor, the motor is going to need this one here. And so they're trying to tell you that you can basically push the motor right onto the pinion, just like that. But please don't do that. We have this specialized tool for that purpose. This tool right here. This is from an MA or an MS chassis. I think other cars have that too. You just place this pinion right in here like so. And I believe it's the same in the front and the rear. So if you look closely at both sides, they are exactly the same. So again, this is the type of pinion that cracks easily, so I don't like this. So, oh, I don't think I told all of you about that. I was talking about this at a race that I was just at this afternoon. And yeah, these pinions can crack very easily. Stupid soft plastic. So let's take our motor out of the other car and let's use it in here. So, okay. So we'll remove this pinion using the pinion puller. Okay. So now we'll use this, push this into this right here. Got a very dirty motor here, we have to clean it. Okay. Okay, I think I like this. So to clean this motor, we're going to use electronics cleaning spray, and we're going to insert the nozzle of the cleaning spray into the holes that we see on here. So we've got several holes. This is an SMC motor. Some of you might want to use a Some of you might want to use a Mabuchi motor instead of SMC. So SMC are characterized by these two holes, these slots right here. The Mabuchi motors do not have these two openings. So yeah, you'll have to basically spray your electronics cleaner in through the hole there and through there, and you can shake it out into a paper towel and basically remove all that soot that's accumulated all on the inside there. So I'm going to be returning soon, and I'll be spraying this off screen. Okay, so the nozzle goes inside the hole in the rear. All this black stuff comes out. And I'm going to do the other side. Same thing. I shake it a little bit. I'm going to also squirt inside the two side holes. Good. And let's do it again. Okay, great. And we're going to use a paper towel. And shake this out. There we go. Shaking out all of the soot. So there, it's cleaner than it was before. Very cool. And you can do this a number of times until it's like cleaner. In fact, let's try it one more time. Let's make it super clean. Can you over clean your motors? Yes, you can. So try not to over clean. Doing it twice is not over cleaning. Shake it out. You can even water clean, water tune your motors once again. So yeah, you can do that. Okay. That's my dog in the background. Sorry. There we go. That's much better than it was before. Now we're going to oil this. Just have to lubricate this. So this is my very, very viscous oil. I'm going to just put a little bit here, put a little bit here. We're going to put this inside the hole, squirt 1, 2 right there, a little bit there, blow it through, another drop. So off camera, I am blowing into the hole where I squirted a drop of oil, because if you don't do that, the oil just kind of stays there. So I'm blowing it into the motor, and now it's inside the motor, and I can shake out the excess. So it's going to come out through the holes right here, any excess oil. There we go. Very nice. Okay, just wipe off the excess oil on the bottom. Okay, so let us insert this motor into place. So according to this diagram here, number 7, we take this like so, and we are putting this through here. So the contacts here are going to be touching the contacts here. Okay, so let me wipe any excess oil off of these contacts, because we want to make sure that that's completely clean before we attempt to attach this motor. In general, I hate detaching motors from these old SFM chassis. It's so much easier with an FMA chassis than with an SFM chassis. Okay, here we go. think that's done. Yeah, it's a little loose here. Okay, so what else needs? It's supposed to snap in place. Yeah, it doesn't snap. Let me see what's going on here. Did I bend a contact? I don't think I did. I did not, I don't think. Okay, it's just that I've got very bent contacts on my motor. That's why it's like that. Well, it snapped, but it's still bouncy like this. So I guess that's how it should be. So let me wipe off this excess oil here. This is getting a little oily here. Okay. All right, great. So we have this. Now, and it looks like you're supposed to use an SMC motor for this anyway, so very, very cool. All right, we snapped it in place, and now we're going to do the 4:1 gear ratio gear, which is the black gear. And we need some lubricant, some oil for this shaft right here for the speed gear. So we're going to just swipe some here, here, here. Yep. Just like this. All around. And now we're going to put some lubricating oil inside the hole here too, on both sides. So yeah, the World Yoga Championship was in Malaysia last year. So I was in Malaysia. Okay, so a little bit of a spin. Let's see. Yeah, spin's nice. I wish there was some sort of a support disc right here. There is none in here in the older style kits, unfortunately. So this basically will have a little bit of a wobble. So that can't be helped. All right, so now they want you to insert this in like so. So here's where it goes. It goes into the hole that's right in there. So let's see. Let's see. Yes, it goes right in there like that. And then this cover goes on top of it. So where's the cover? The cover is here. So the cool thing about this is you can see through it. It's not like a transparent, no, not transparent. It's not like an opaque cover. This is a translucent cover so you can see the parts, the moving parts inside. So here we just have to line up the shaft with the hole that's right on top there. And then we snap this right in place right here. So let's take a quick peek here where this exactly aligns to. And then we snap this in place. So let's see. It's not that easy. No forcing. Okay. It's not liking it. So there's a peg here that aligns with this peg in here. Let's see. Still doesn't want to go in. Okay, so the peg is supposed to go from here into there. So what's going on here? Why isn't it going in? So yes, it's late. We've been at this for over 2 hours, I think. So eyesight's faulty, and yeah, just have to be a little careful not to force anything through. We might want to force things through, but that's not a good idea. Let's see. Looks like they want you to put the peg in first. Yeah. Still having technical difficulties here. I think the other one was easier. The other Brocken Gigant. Don't know why it's not going in. Ah, here it goes. Oh, golly. Well, the peg went in. Let's try it again. Okay, so this... Let's lubricate this before we shut everything up here. So, here. Before we close everything, we should lubricate this. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There. There we go. Try this again. Let's lubricate this. Okay. Let's lubricate this. Man, why is this so hard? This is so weird. Is something not cut properly? Let's see. Yeah, I swear the other Brocken Gigant was easier. I don't know why this is like taking so long. It shouldn't take this long. So, and I think I'm lining everything up right. So it's really weird that it's not doing it. So one side at a time. Let's see. Here it goes again. Yes. Is that, wait. Wait, is that it? Aha. This kind of like is loose. It's a little loose. I wonder if that's going to affect it badly. Yeah, it... Huh. Okay, so it's like a little off there, and then I have to like close it on top of here. I think it should be good, but yeah. And now that this is in place like this is no longer like bouncy in there. So it had something to do with this being like a little bouncy in here, I think. No, it's still bouncy. As you see here, you can still move it slightly. So, yeah, weird. All right, so it's in place. And I think I can move the motor. The motor will move this, I think. Yeah, okay, good. So 7 is done. Now we move on to 8. 8, you put this whole thing into the chassis. Finally! Okay, so this goes in this way, like this. And we drop it in from left to right, or right to left, that is. So it goes in through here. There, now it snaps in place. Now there's no chance that any of this is like off, right? So this is on there. And now we flip the car over. Oh, let me adjust this. We flip the car over in instruction 9, and we insert the on switch on. So the on switch is this little hook thing, and we're turning it this way, and we basically put this thing in like so, I think. Yeah, that's it. And we turn this like so, and it snaps in place. Okay. Then the other side, we flip it over, and here is where we put this brass or copper looking one here. Let's see. Yeah, we finagle it through here. Yeah, remember these instructions not being as clear as other ones, as newer instructions. hold on a second. This is not quite right. Okay. Okay. We're in the final stages here. Let's see. This goes in through there, which goes through there. So something about here, I think it goes in like this. I'm sure that if I removed this part here, I could figure out, like, I could see how this is attached. So how do you remove this? This is weird. Because this looks to me like they need better instructions for this. So, something is supposed to snap in place over here. Let's take a look at this again. I guess I'm snapped in place. Okay. So, wait a second here. Apologies for all the technical difficulties here. It shouldn't be this hard, right? Okay, so it should go out like that, in like that. So really, switching it out like that, and then switching it in, so it does hook somewhere. Wait a second. Something snapped in place. Ah, these inexplainable things. Okay. Is it supposed to be like this? I don't know. So here we go. We're going to just cover this up. And when I turn this, yeah. I think it's supposed to be like this, where this little T is snuggling up against here. Okay. So, is that it? I guess that's it. No. All right, wait a minute. That's not it. Oh wait, this hole is supposed to go in through here, duh. So this hole should be lined up such that it's supposed to pop through here. Okay, so this is supposed to be pushed over to the left. This is supposed to be around this thing here. And this hole is supposed to line up with this peg over here. So the hole, so this little peg is supposed to go through this little hole. And then this snaps in place over here. What a stupid design. And then this turns on off like this. Yeah. That's it. I think. Let's see. Batteries. Finally. All right. Not too fast, because it's a 4-to-1 gear ratio. Oh God, removing this battery. All right, so I think I have this correct. Yep, so this goes out, and then goes back in, and that's just like that, yeah. And this, same kind of thing, I think. This goes out. Back in. Okay. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to work. Let's try this again. Something made the motor go slower that time. Okay. There we go. Same thing as before, 18. So 4:1 gear ratio, that's not the fastest. So I've seen 18 before on 4:1 gear ratios. This could be faster, but if we decided to put a fresh motor in here, maybe we can get it to be 19 or 20. Yeah, with a 4:1 gear ratio. So yeah, all that work just to try to get this in place here. Wow. It's crazy pants. It's a weird, weird system. So I have a 3.5:1 gear ratio gear that I'm going to replace with this here. And we'll get this to be faster. And I've got wheels and stuff. But let's just put this all together and the rest of this together. And we'll see it through. So the next step is to assemble the rear system here. So the rear system, it requires these rollers here, and they want you to use a step screw and a washer, and yeah, there's a certain way to place the washer so it'll be faster than not. So first we want to lubricate the inside of the roller. Like I said, it's getting late, so I'm like talking a little slower than I usually do. I apologize for that. Where's my oil pen? Oh no. Oil pen was here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Duh. So right in here. And let's see, one side's the top and one side's the bottom. I would say that the part where the notch is, that should be the top. But let's see what it says in the diagram. The diagram says to use put it on the bottom, because here we see everything looks pretty pristine on the top. So we'll flip it over to the other side. Okay, good. And here, yes, this is the top. Okay, so I'm going to wipe or swipe the bottom part here with a little bit of oil pen. Same with this here. And then I'm going to find the top part of this. There's a flat concave part and a convex part. So you can kind of tell by looking at it which side is which. So I'm going to basically place it like this, and I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to put this whole structure, the so-called step screw or the roller screw, and the roller and the washer. And now I'm going to put it inside this thing here, and so we want this to be this way, and they're telling us to put it on the inside one. So let me just lubricate the inside holes right here, like so. I generally like to start the screw a little bit first, but I don't think I have that leverage right there. So let me see if I can find my handy dandy screwdriver and gently, there we go. Nice. And we'll just start it right there. So for this part here, you don't want to use an electric screwdriver. You want to gently tighten the screw, because you don't want to strip the hole. You might still strip the hole anyway, but here, there, by gently applying this, attaching this screw, then it'll be like a lot better than if you used an electric screwdriver. Okay, so this is a good one. Let's try the other side too. The other side, just make sure that the top is the top. And now we're going to find one of these, the convex side. Okay, it's this side here. Assemble the roller screw, the roller, and the washer. Start it in here, like so. Okay, good. So it was the final race at AAA Hobbies, and it was like sweet memories from AAA Hobbies, because that was like one of the first places that I raced at and I had success at, and that was pretty cool. And meeting all the wonderful people there at that race site was totally awesome. So yeah, wonderful people. Ooh, I put in the wrong I put in the wrong place. Let's see, it's supposed to be on the inside, not the outside. Although you can adjust these as you see fit. So, yeah, I'm sure there's a strategy that some of you have for using the inside screws versus the outside screws. That's why it was a little harder to put in. I had lubricated the inside screws. Yeah, a little bit of lubrication in the holes, then you can start the screw more easily in there. So, there we go. Tighten it, but not too tight. Spin. Nice. It spins nicely. So this is it. This is the rear stay. And like I said, for modern race cars, this is just, against modern race cars, it's just not going to do that well. But it all depends on the racetrack, right? So now we put this in here. And then we're going to attach this into here. Yeah, against modern race cars, this is probably not going to fare very well, but, you know, like, it's fun to race these little cars, these older cars. Slots in place there. Yeah. Plus, it's pretty funny when these old-time cars can beat, like, newer cars. It's pretty darn cool. Let's just make sure that this is locked in place. Okay. All right. So now we need a screw to attach this in here, and I think that's what this is for. And the screw and the washer. So we need a washer on here too. So the washer should be the convex side on top. So again, looking at this from top and bottom. Let's see. Using the reflections to guide us. Tough call sometimes. So here we go. There, it fits right in place. And now the screw goes in here, like so. And gently, gently, gently screw in, because it's going to pass through the lock nut on the other side. And yeah, I feel it now. Now we just secure it in place. A backwards turn, forwards turn, it's in. So there we go, that's the rear. Now we do the front. The front has washers and these rollers and the step screw, or the roller screw. So I'm going to lubricate this right here. It's the back ones we care about. The ones that are more out than in. And we're also going to lubricate the insides of these. And I think we already did that, but we'll do it again. There we go. There we go. And also the bottom of it. So let's find the top. There's the top. Here's the bottom. And here we go. We just swipe the bottom of this. We place this on the top like this. We then take one of these. We find the convex side. Okay. Good. And then we attach it to the front. And the front, we're going to start it into the lubricated hole. Good. And now we attach this in there. Yeah, I met a couple of new racers too at the final race at AAA Hobbies. That was today, and that was pretty cool. There was one girl who had never raced cars before, and she just bought her first car today. That was so cool. It's a shame that AAA Hobbies is closing. It's like one of the last hobby stores in the area. So hopefully we'll see something around that will take its place, but I kind of doubt it just because of the way that companies are working in their distribution channels these days. It seems like a lot of brands are just trying to sell direct to people rather than go through hobby stores. I mean, hobby stores are great for demonstrating things, for showcasing things. Like sometimes you order things through mail order and they're not exactly what you want because like you don't have a reference point. So you basically just trust the descriptions, and sometimes the descriptions are not quite correct, or they're perceived in different ways than how the actual product is. So it's always best to look at a product in person and then decide for yourself if you want to purchase that product. But yeah, it's just not the way these days. This spins freely. This one does not. What's going on here? Let's try that again. Spins like this now. Okay, that's good. There we go. So that's done. And we have some spare parts here. We have one of these things. And we also have a spare washer. And we also have the 5-to-1 gear. Gears and counter gears. So now, in order to put the rest of this together, this is how it goes. The front part goes like this. It's supposed to anyway. There we go. And then there's a latch in the back. So before we do that, let's just put this part here on here. Yeah, I was hoping to see more people at the final race. It's a shame that there were some familiar faces from the past that I expected to be there, but they weren't there. So I don't know what happened to them. Okay, here it is in all of its glory. The Brocken Gigant Black Special. Very, very cool. And we're going to put our decorations on here, and if we wanted to, we could put this piece on here, this piece which goes on something like this, and then you can snap it in place. And I think if you snap it in place, isn't it going to interfere with this? Let's see. There, I've snapped it in place, and seems to me like one of them is a little off. So this spins right. I see something here. Okay, here we go. So I think that the gap that's between the cowl and the wheel, the tire, it's like there's not a lot of space. So if this hits, if the front part hits the tire, then you've got a problem. It'll slow it down. And a lot of you might be arguing, no, it'll never touch the tire. What are you talking about? No, au contraire, because if this were to leap and jump over something and then land with a thud, this part here in the front will probably connect with the tire. There's just that little bit of flex. If I push it in like this, you can basically see right here that it's going to make contact with this front part here. And plus, this being a loose part and not firmly in place, this is also going to be a detriment to the performance of this car. So that's why a lot of people, when they race this, they simply remove this front part. So let me lift this up and remove this front part, because it's not necessary and it'll interfere with things, and you don't want it to interfere with things. So it's actually better to race without this and just race it like this. Plus, if you want this more secure, add some friction onto the end tab. You can put a little bit of tape right there around this lip so that it'll stay more in place on the car. Now this part here, the rear, does not really click in place. It kind of like is just held by friction. And there's maybe a slight indentation, but it's not a click like on other cars. Like, let me see this one. If I put this one back on, let's just take a look. And I need, oh yes, there you go. I put the sticker right there, the tape, Tamiya tape right there. And I put some Tamiya tape right there too for additional snugness. And then I'm using this, the FMA body catch, to snap in place right here, and that snaps in place very nicely. So let's take a look at this and see if the FMA body catch, the cowl catch, is better for this. It is. It snaps right in place. So I would suggest that if you turn this into the B-Max Monster it should be, that you use an FMA body catch for this, because it'll snap in place. The other one is just held by friction. It doesn't seem to snap in place. So there we go, right here. Very, very cool. It's even cooler with this. It'll be even cooler with all of these things, like metal rollers and plates and things like that. But otherwise, this looks really cool right now. And these are things here that you can attach onto the rear. And I think, let's see how they go. They go something like this. Right, so it's like a design thing. Like, you don't have to put this in. And really, I would suggest not putting these things in, just because these are like, if you do put them in, glue them in place rather than just keeping them right here like this. Some people might feel that the additional parts here might add to a might give it a dampening effect. So I'm sure there are studies done on the dampening effect of these two little pieces that attach to the rear. I'm sure that there are people who have studied the dampening effect of this front part here. If you just hang it loose and you let it flap around when it's jumping off of hills, then the dampening effect will perhaps aid a small percentage in this landing more properly. But remember that this is like handicapped by the fact that it's got a 4-to-1 gear ratio. Now, if you were allowed to use a 3.5-to-1 gear ratio in this car, because some races will have that, they'll allow you to use 3.5-to-1 gear ratios in your car no matter what they are, then you've got a good chance with this car. But look how narrow these rollers are, right? So you've basically got these rollers, and these rollers, like, I'm going to say that they hardly do anything, because this is like kind of like in the way, this thing right here, these side pieces. So let's take a look right here at what these rollers exactly do. So the rollers, the roller right here on the rear and the roller in the front, if you look at the gap right here, it is such a small gap between the roller and, see, the roller here and this one here. They're almost the same. So it's like kind of strange that it's like that. Let's take a look here like this. Yeah, there's like the tiniest space between the car cowl and the side of this plastic box right here. It's like the tiniest sliver of space, and really, like, it is so close to the cowl that this friction here is going to slow the car down, I think, because I can feel it right here. I can see it right here, that this cowl, the rear part of the cowl, is touching this. So what can be done about this? Can these rollers be separated even further apart? No. It's just how it is. We are on our farthest setting to bring this as wide as possible. So this is like very severely handicapped because of this friction part here. But it looks cool, doesn't it? And it is so expandable. Look here. When I add these rollers on here, now it's much wider. And so these rollers here create a big gap between the body and the side of the track. So pretend that this is the side of the track. You can see there's a lot of space right there between the car itself, the cowl, and the side of the track. Whereas on here, it's like so close as to be touching. And some might argue that, oh no, it's not touching at all. Well, you see it right here in this exaggerated view. It seems like it's not touching, but there's always something that's touching, whether it be this side piece here or this back piece here. So for box stock, running this with box stock, there's a lot of friction going on here, I think. Especially when this presses up against, this rubber here presses up against the side of the track. Yeah, you're going to have some issues with that. So now that we've done that, we can apply the stickers as a last part onto this cowl right here. So what happened to our stickers? They're somewhere around here. They were floating around here and now they're gone. Oh no. I was holding on to them too. So they're around here. And once we find them, then we're going to apply the stickers onto our cowl. And yeah, and then we're totally done. So yes, very, very cool. So the rest of the instructions here talk about adding the additional parts that we already talked about, and also adding the 5-to-1 gear on here instead of the 4-to-1 gear. So why would anybody do that? Why would anybody use 4-to-1 gear ratio versus 5-to-1 gear ratio? Like, why would anybody use 5-to-1? Well, for several reasons. You want to slow down the car a little bit, right? So slowing down the car might be a good idea on certain tracks. And if you put like a really powerful motor, if you have a really powerful motor inside your car, you can always slow down the car. But with the gear being so high like that, you've got a lot of torque. So supposedly the car is going to move very fast around corners. So that's a strategy that some people use. If it's a very technical track, then you can have a 5-to-1 gear ratio. And in this particular car, if you stick something like a sprint dash in there, it'll be very, very fast. And you're dumbing it down with the gear by making it go very very fast around turns. So I would not suggest a sprint dash for that, but rather a power dash motor with a 5-to-1 gear ratio, and then you'll get like very high performance and very fast speed around corners. So very, very cool. So yeah, that's all we have here. And next thing we're going to do, put the stickers on, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so let's take a look at this right here. Let's take a look at what we want to put on here. So I like the sticker pattern that we have here. I did not use the window on here. So I feel like I don't want to use the window. I feel like I want to use the stuff on the sides. So first things first, we should wash our hands after we build a car, right? We've touched a lot of oil and grease and other things like that. So we want to make sure that everything that we do is pristine and clean. So here, any excess oils that you have on your cowl, just try to wipe them off with, I don't know, I'm using a shirt sleeve right there, but you can use like basically a soft water wipe, and you can wipe off any excess grease on your cowl. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm using a cloth to wipe my hands clean. I'm not using a paper towel because I don't want the little fuzzies that are on paper towels to get onto my hands. And now I'm going to affix the stickers on there. So here we have what's called a decal tweezer. So the decal tweezer, you can carefully handle decals with this. So we have stickers that say Dr. Ogami R&D and Black Special. So we can apply the Black Special sticker somewhere on here to signify that we are indeed racing a Black Special car. So where should we put the Black Special sticker? So they suggest putting it right on the motor itself. And I have an issue with that because if we ever replace this motor, then we don't have the Black Special sticker anymore. So what else can we do with this Black Special sticker? We can place it right here. It makes sense, right? It makes sense to put the Black Special sticker right there. Now, usually what I do with stickers like this is I decorate my pit boxes with this. As you see, I've got all of these little stickers from all the different kits. And this is just one pit box cover, right? So I have, what, 12 pit box covers? Maybe more. And so they're all decorated with these little stickers right here from all the various kits that I've owned and assembled. So yeah, I have a lot of stickers and a lot of cars. Yeah. One of my cousins asked me how many cars I have, and I'm like, I don't know. So I have a lot of cars, is what I'm trying to say. So I have a lot more cars than you think I do, but I don't have as many cars as you think I do. So it's valid. Both answers are valid right there. So I do have a lot of cars, but I don't think it's as many as most people think. But it's still a lot of cars. So here, with the decal sticker, it's easy to hold onto the decal with this. And now we just have to align it properly. If we do this right, then it won't mess with my OCD and ADD and all that D. Does it have to be perfect? No, but we should try. That messed up a little bit. It's too late. It's on there. I have to be happy with it. So it's slightly to the right and it's slightly down, but oh well. If I worry about, I can push it up a little bit on this side. If I worry so much about all of this stuff, then I'll go nuts, and I don't want to go nuts. So I'm happy with it there. So this G right here, where can we put this? We can put this on this part here, I think, right? No. So they want you to put the G like across here and then slit it. And I don't like that. Sorry. I'd rather put the G right here across this. Let's not use the G. Alright, so how about the side stickers? I think I like some of the side stickers right here. Here's the box right here with the approximate look of this. So I think I like this right here, just like we have in here. So I like the stripes, like I have here. So I want the stripes in place. So the stripes are not exactly yellow, they are more like gold, as you see here. So how did I attach these last time? I think I attached them not with tweezers, but it's okay. We can use tweezers. Okay, so one side has longer stickers than the other. Okay, so it goes like this. This side goes to here, this side goes to here. So let's do it. Bingo. Give it a good press. Let's do it again. So there's supposed to be different federations to enter various yoga championships out there. And this year I was silver place in a world yoga championship. And a friend of mine got gold, and she and I have been competing against each other for like years, and she always wanted to beat me, and she finally did. And then she asked for her medal, and I don't think they're giving out medals this year. I think they're just giving out a certificate that says that you got gold place or silver place or bronze place. So in the past, they gave out medals, and you basically just had to send some postage to them, some shipping fee, and they will send you the medal. And she was like all happy that she won gold, and unfortunately, they're not sending her a medal. And yeah, they just decided to do away with medals this year for whatever reason. So I think she's kind of upset by that. I would be. That would be terrible if you were like competing against somebody for years and years and years, and yeah, and you finally got the gold medal and suddenly they just took it right from under you, unfortunately. They as in the Federation. So that's not cool. I have spoken to people who've won gold medals in the past in rowing, and this person's very competitive. She basically said, well, if it's not a gold medal, then it's just not worth having. And that shouldn't be the case, right? Like, if you're not gold and you're silver, that's still pretty darn good. And that should be praised. Like, I don't know why you're so hard on yourself and to not appreciate something a little less than gold. Like, the whole point is you're racing amongst friends, and any one of your friends could have been, any one of the rival teams could have been number one. If you always are number one, then, and you know you're going to win all the time, then what's the point of competing? You might as well just always tell yourself that you're like gold. But if you're entering like a legit contest where everybody else is really good, then it's anybody's game. And you really shouldn't expect to always win. Now, remember, we're all competitors, right, in our sport, so we're always going to want to win. But the thing is, if somebody else, it's somebody else's time, is basically what I'm trying to say. Like, that's just how it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. If it's somebody else's turn to win, then they're going to win, and it's too bad if you don't win. But you shouldn't get sad or upset about it. I mean, you're basically still amongst the best in the world to be competing. So yeah, being number 6 in the world is pretty good, pretty good. And it's a very humbling experience to be up there amongst all these great yoga people. A lot of them have been practicing for years and years and years. A lot of them have been practicing for far longer than I have. And so I'm quite honored to be amongst them. It's pretty cool. And a lot of people have asked me when I first competed, they asked me, well, are you nervous being up there? And it's cool. The answer is, of course I'm nervous, but there are ways to kind of control that, and there's a time and place for nervousness. If you're not nervous, then that's kind of like stupid, right? Because you should always not be overconfident, and you should always try to approach every contest as if it's like you put your all into it, and you try to do your best at all times, right? So this is not just for yoga championships, but for anything that you do, you should try to put your all-out effort into it. And yeah, that's what I used to do with Mini 4-wheel drive racing until I focused on other things like yoga competition. So I have to get back into the swing of things with my Mini 4-wheel drive competition. I know I can do better than that. I have done better. So yeah. But really, yoga competition, that's what I've been focusing on for the last, I'd say 2023 onward. For me, it was like, well, it's a chance to represent the United States and a chance to like get one step closer to the Olympics. So everybody's talking about the Olympics and how yoga will be in the Olympics. And it's not going to be in the LA Olympics this coming year. It's going to be more like 2031 is when they're slated to be in the Olympics. So it's a while, but it's approaching. And I hope that I'm still competing at that point. I'm not competing this year because, like, I busted up my knee. But I hope to be competing in the future, once my knee is all healed up. Okay, good. I've got the stripes in place. I like that. It's looking better than I thought it would. It's looking a little regal, so that's pretty cool. So, yeah. Could have been better, this middle stripe, but I'm not going to cry over it, because I think it's pretty good as it is. And let's see, what other stickers do I have here? I have these side stickers. So I want to put these side stickers on. And the side stickers go something like this. They are like this. It's a big one. And I'm going to place them right on here like this. Yes. And it's supposed to attach right across like that. So it's supposed to go something like this. Yes. And it's supposed to go right across, I believe. Yeah. All right, that's good. Not too bad. It's not perfect, but oh well. Yeah. I think even if you apply these perfectly, there would still be something slightly off about them. Oh wait. So I'm not too worried about that anymore. It's like it could have been better, right? Like they could have manufactured their parts better. There. So tomorrow, I'm heading off to New York City and just exploring the city, checking out some Japanese sushi places, treating myself to some good lunch and dinner spots. So yeah, going to a couple of omakase places. Omakase is this Japanese sushi like meal, and it's like really good. You get different dishes to try. And yeah, if you're into sushi and sashimi and things like that, then you'll love omakase. All different dishes. You just let the chef make the food for you. Trust in the chef. Entrust the chef, it's all about. Okay, so here we go. Not too bad. I like that. Entrust the chef. So there's another one right there. Okay, it's looking good. Pretty good for paper stickers. Okay. It's pretty neat that, like, the people that I meet, they tell me that, like, people I have no idea, like, I've never met before, I don't know who they are, and they just tell me, I've learned from your videos before, so, and that's really cool that what I've done with the videos, I've reached so many people and kind of like touch people's lives. That's pretty cool. It's safe to say that maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have watched my videos and learned something from them. And that was my goal all along, to be able to, like, disseminate this knowledge to people. And I've been criticized about this knowledge before, like it's not entirely correct and stuff like that. And you know what? This stuff is correct to me at the time that I produced the videos. And nobody's taught me these things, right? So I kind of learned these things on my own. So I think experimenting is a good way of learning things. I think if you're the type that likes to sit and listen to lectures, that's great. But I would rather learn by doing. And yeah, I might not get everything totally 100% right, but I at least have the satisfaction of knowing that I tried, and I tried to make things work, right? So that's just how I learn. That's how I learn best. So yeah, can't fault somebody for trying. So here we go. It looks just like my old one right there. And I could place other parts on here too. I can put this, I guess I can put this thing on here, right? This on here. And what's in the rear? The rear has something, it has nothing. Okay, it's just like that. So these side parts, I can put these parts here on there if I really wanted to. But are there any other things I want to put on? Let's see. How about this? There's a hole right there. Okay, I'm okay with putting some things in the back there. So let's see, which one goes here and which one goes there. So this is supposed to go like, I think like this, yeah. So I think this goes in like this. So let's just make sure, because I don't want to like totally mess this up. So let's take a look at the instructions quickly and see which sticker goes on where. So this is on the rear, number 1 and 2. So 1 and 2. So this is 1 and this is 2. So 1 goes on the left side. Okay, let's pop out the hole in the center. There. And now we're going to position this so that this goes, the hole is right above there. That's nice. So let me do this off camera so that I can see it better. Okay. Okay, I think it goes something like this. Yeah, and this goes right above here like this. Yep, just like that. Okay, and then this part here. Again, I'll go off camera so that I can get a better positioning of this sticker. Okay. Nice. I like to use the warmth of my thumbs to make sure that this is actually on totally correctly. And I like to push down to try to smudge out all of the bubbles, any air bubbles underneath the stickers. And I think, let's see, this goes like this looks like this. Brocken Gigant is here. That's good. Do I want to put anything here? I think I'm okay with that. Just like this. And yeah, I think this is about how I want it to be. And I really could put the sticker on here, but I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to put this right on here, on the old one. Because I kind of like the translucent aspect of this. Like, you can see through it, right? Translucent means you can partially see through things. So if I covered it up with this window, it would just defeat the purpose of this translucent window. So I like this as it is. So I'm going to keep it like that. If anything, if I were smart, not saying that I'm not smart, but if I were smart, I would paint everything but the window a red color, a spray paint red, so that it would be translucent red, and this part would be a black, translucent black window. And that would be very cool. But I think it would change the look of this black special. So I don't want to change the look of it. So anyway, let's see. I'm going to think about putting this window on. And this window, like, is it necessary? I have put window on before on other Brocken Gigants, but then they would look so terrible that I'd peel them back off again. So maybe I will not put that on. Yeah, I'll just leave it be, because I think quit while you're ahead, right? Like, this is like pretty cool looking. So I'm happy with it as it is. So here, let's put this on, canopy on. And now, by putting this back on here like this, we can honestly say that this is completed. This is finished. This is the final product, even though it goes at only 18 kilometers per hour according to our speed checker. This is the completed car as it is. And we will then upgrade this in the near future to a more B-Max level car, like this one here, like this other Brocken Gigant. So yeah. So we're gonna make like one of these, but better. So maybe I'll keep this as it is. I have somewhere near here, I have, I have this additional part, and the part is really cool. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. This is the carbon reinforced Super FM chassis set. And so I can build a B-Max car using this as the chassis. Very, very cool. So this will be a lot stronger than something like this. So yeah, and I think I could even replace, I could, not replace, but just install all these parts and it'll be a lot stronger than this. This is like a little flimsy, but it's so cute, isn't it? It's very cute. Yeah. I'm very happy with this model. Like, I love it. This is so cute, and I've wanted this for such a long time, and I finally got it. And yeah, thank you so much, anonymous person out there who gave me this car as a gift. It's very, very cool. I love it. Yeah. This one, this version, this chassis will be up on my bookshelf because I think it's pretty cool. But I might want to race it just to see what it's like, right? It's always worth trying. Every car out there, right? It might surprise you, right? All of these cars might surprise you. For example, a lot of people did not know that, or maybe a lot of people did know, that certain little cars could beat bigger cars. Like, there are these old MS cars, very narrow rollers, and they end up being faster than modern cars. And it's just kind of wacky when that happens. But yeah, it depends on the track that you're racing on. So who knows? I might be on a track where this will be the king, and that'll be cool. What a fantastic build, everybody. Yeah, it took a while, but we built it and we talked about a lot of different things. Pretty darn cool. So everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you. Bye.